The other thing that I had in it, this is neither good nor bad. Neither was that. I mean, I liked it. I just was wondering. He asked questions. I'm always hesitant to ask questions because you always have 4 or 5 people who then want to chime in and begin talking and answering whatever. I mean, he asks, and sometimes I'll do rhetorical questions that I don't expect an answer, but he expected an answer, and I wondered if you think that's effective, or is it better to never ask a question?
Oh, no, see, that's one of the things I like.
I do too, but...
Because what it does is it keeps people with you, and it's a clue if people are with you. Now, in some groups, you might have someone that just takes as an opportunity to be inappropriate.
Exactly.
But if you don't have that problem, you know, the baby, you know.
Yeah.
And it was nice. There were some times there for people to react when he said, you know, Daniel wasn't really interrupting. People laughed. You know, you knew they were with you.
Right.
You know, to me, one of the nice things in watching it, it was very easy to track that the congregation were staying with him.
Right.
They were understanding him because of the, you know, about the baby crying was a question. And I guess only one person answered. Well, part of the problem, he asked a question. What would you have done if no one answered?
Oh, I would have filled it in. I would have gone on there and said it because I'm like prepared. I'm just saying.
And
you know what? It wasn't a pre-thought question. Some of those, for me, become opportunities to engage your listeners, and I thought it was being able to engage them with a very simple answer. I thought I was going to get one of 2 answers as the question was coming out of my mouth. I'm either going to get babies cry or babies poop. Had I got babies poop, it would have been a much more awkward moment. Well, they do that too, you know, we do that. But when babies get hungry.
Those guards, those Egyptian guards around looking around with stinky diapers, huh? 3 stinky diapers a house too, go search it.
I would have said, well, you know, babies cry. That's what they do, they cry. When they're hurting, they cry. When they're hungry, they cry. See, when they're happy, they cry. Babies cry. I would have made a much more big thing about babies crying. What was nice is that I figured there were some folks. I would have expected an Andy or Peter or somebody, and of course I was able to light right there on Peter with the answer right away, you know, and go with it. So it wasn't a pre-thought out question. It was, and that's kind of where some of that spontaneity comes with me, and it might get me in a situation sometimes. I can't think of an example at the moment, but I'm sure there's been some where I didn't get what I was looking for, and I was kind of hanging out there, so I ended up having to fill in the pieces myself. Fortunately, those weren't taped.
I did love you're holding the baby out, you know, and the awe. I thought that was extremely affecting. Extremely effective.
Once again, it was spontaneous. You're sort of telling the story, and how would Pharaoh's daughter have reacted to this child? You know.
Yeah, sure.
But that's where it kind of came from.
But that was good. That was really
So I'm hearing you talk about being spontaneous, and that makes me nervous. Does that make you nervous?
Well, not when Carmine is spontaneous, but...
Well, I think there's a fine line between spontaneous and unprepared.
Exactly. Yes.
And, you know, to leave room for the moment... I never preach with notes. I preach with outlines or notes, but I don't. The manuscript. I went to a manuscript, but I do have an outline, so I kind of know where I'm starting and where I'm going. Because the congregation is a live audience, and our folks sometimes are quite live, and stuff happens, and you go with it.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess I should clarify. I guess for the purpose of using it, since we're being somewhat instructional here in our critiquing. When I say spontaneous, in my notes, what I would have put in my line item there is Pharaoh's daughter finds Moses possible reaction, and so I'm putting there something that's going to stimulate it and really write out exactly what I'm going to say. And probably what I didn't do is, in my mind, I'm sort of thinking I didn't necessarily anticipate that I was going to get the audience involved in the responding with the It's just one of those moments again where I felt like it was elementary enough that it could get the audience involved and keep them engaged, and you know, that's where the spontaneity happens.
So it wasn't the outline, you weren't just making up as you go?
Correct. Yeah, correct. No, it would have been a line item in there because we're talking about how we couldn't have foreseen what would have happened. We have no way of knowing, but that was part of God stepping in. Moses' mom doing what she could do, but this is what took place after that.
Sure.
Well, we couldn't have forecast that. There was no way to predict that. There was no way to know that. That was her trusting God part.
Well, unfortunately, the tier letters have gone out, and this will probably be an ongoing walk that we journey with our members, and I think that it was a good start.
I thought it was very effective. I felt like, I had a hard time finding stuff to criticize. But it did leave me with a lot of questions, and so appreciate it.
God bless you.